seat here at the podium.
At the podium, yeah, is the,
Hot spot.
and now for, the thought process was, A, the room is, but B, that, as a litigator, it's a very comfortable place to be generally, so
Yes, sir.
hopefully that's the case.
Absolutely.
Hi, my name is Terry. Thank you, man, for taking the time and the energy to complete the application. It is arduous at best, and I appreciate your interest. At the end of the day, it comes down to one guy or one lady.
Yes, sir.
That's who gets the spot. And so, why is it you? Why would the governor be missing an opportunity if he didn't pick Ben?
Well, first off, let me just say thank you to you, because I know that this is an arduous process, and it takes a lot out of y'all's time and schedules. The bottom line is, I've been in public service now since 2010 with the state attorney's office, and I really enjoyed almost every minute of it. There's been some trying times. I can't say every minute. I wouldn't be sure.
Let's not talk about John right now.
But almost every minute of it. It's really been a calling for me, and it's just been great. I enjoy serving my community. I enjoy, providing at least, what little bit of insight I have as far as criminal justice system and making sure that our communities are safe. I carry my work ethic that I have at the state attorney's office now into my role as a sitting circuit court judge. I've been dealing, for the past 13 years at the state with a huge number of cases. Now I'm at a point where I manage the St. Augustine, St. Johns County office for the state attorney's office. With that has come some tasks that I haven't enjoyed as much as practicing law, some human resources issues, which are always trying and difficult sometimes. But I think that's kind of what sets me apart from some of the other candidates. I've also had an opportunity before joining the state attorney's office to practice in private practice. So I've been able to try civil cases, circuit civil, had some family law trials. It's been a long time, so I'd have to reacquaint myself with that area of the law. But on the dependency, I've done a little bit of everything. I haven't strictly done just criminal at the state attorney's office. And even there, I've had an opportunity to kind of dip my feet into some civil cases there as well. A lot of people, unless they work at the state attorney's office, don't know that we have to go through, with regard to community development districts, CDDs. I don't know how many of you are in a CDD, but the state attorney's office is responsible for litigating those bonds. So when the CDD wants to issue a bond, they actually file a suit. The state attorney's office is served with that. We have to answer that suit, and it's litigated from that point on.
Is it a somewhat friendly?
It is somewhat friendly,
Yeah.
usually, unless you have somebody in that CDD. Usually it's a new development, so you don't have that much backlash. But for example, if it's a CDD that's been already built out and they're wanting to do something like put in a huge new amenity center, at that point you can get some public concern because they don't want a special assessment on their CDD fees. But for the most part, it is a friendly and administrative type of review.
So last time you were before us, in 2021, your name was certified to the governor. Tell us a little bit about that process. Did you learn anything? What would be your strategy this time?
I did. I learned quite a bit. Number one, you don't drive up there the day of your interview. That's the first thing. Number two, if you can, take another individual with you so they can drop you off at the Capitol building, because the parking is an absolute nightmare. Number three, if you don't have any of those things, make sure you take an umbrella, because there was a deluge when I was walking into my interview and I got sick. But also, I've learned that there needs to be a lot more networking prior to going to Tallahassee. It's very important to get out there and to talk to people and get to know people and get them to know you and what kind of person you are and who you're going to be and what you bring to the table, so to speak, if you're selected. I think that's where I was lacking, to be quite candid with all of you.
secret sauce, but what would the networking, what would that network, what do you mean when you say networking? What are the bases you're touching and the connections you're
No,
making?
absolutely. Just with, a lot of your prominent lawyers in the circuit and beyond the circuit, getting people that have connections in Tallahassee, whether they be legislators, lobbyists, the more people that know your name and are able to associate your name with a decent individual and a good person and a hard worker, I think that is going to be fairly impactful if you're selected if the committee process and sent up to the governor.
When you were in private practice, how much of your practice was family law? Because this is anticipated to be Putnam County family law.
Absolutely. I would say about 50% of my private practice was family. I actually had a couple of family cases in Putnam County. As a matter of fact, one of them, I was able to get a retainer fee up front, but unfortunately, my client was a farm worker, and that was pretty much all the money he had. I didn't want to withdraw from his case. He and I actually kind of became, I wouldn't say friends, but pretty friendly during the litigation of his case. And I wound up getting a 50-pound sack of potatoes about once a week for about 6 months as payment for my food.
To kill a mockingbird style, huh?
It was
I
very
didn't
much.
see that on your financial affidavit.
We didn't go that far back.
Talk to us about the Betty Griffin House. What are you doing over there?
Betty Griffin Center, Mr. Murdoch. They changed the name. I sit on the board of directors for the Betty Griffin Center. I also sit on the Betty Griffin Governance Committee. As a matter of fact, we have a meeting tomorrow night. As far as being on the board of directors, what we do is we just offer, guidance. Our main function is just to make sure that the funds keep coming in, to be quite candid. That and educating the community. I would say that those are probably the two biggest things, making sure that we're getting the charitable contributions that we need in order to accomplish the mission, number one, and number two, using whatever contacts or influence that each one of us on the board have to get out there and educate people about domestic violence and sexual violence. And that's especially important because most of the time, as many of you know, that's something that happens behind closed doors. There's usually only two people that know whether domestic violence is happening. That's the perpetrator of the violence and the victim of the violence. So it's good to get out there and show some statistics to folks because they don't really hear about it, they don't see it. It's something that, nobody really wants to talk about either. It's not a pleasant subject. So that's my main function on the board, is just to make sure that we have a functioning board, number one, and a center that, has adequate funding to be able to accomplish the mission.
You see to be your responsibility to the other judges in the circuit.
My responsibility
To the other judges in
to
the
the
circuit.
other judges in the circuit as a judge,
Yeah.
make sure that I make myself available to cover. If I need to cover for somebody, I'll be there. I'm not going to shirk work. I'm going to be, if not the hardest working, one of the hardest working judges in the circuit. I had never pushed something aside because I didn't feel like doing it or thought it was beneath me. Just be diligent, uphold the honor of the courtroom and the integrity of the courtroom, obey the law. I think that those are your biggest duties to your coworkers, is not to bring shame to the courtroom.
Can you think of a situation where you were in front of a judge where you felt like they weren't following the law, and how that had, what the repercussions of that were for you and your case?
I can. In one particular case, the judge.
And you
I'm
can't
not
keep.
gonna get into it, but I felt that the law wasn't followed, and this was very early on in my career. And what it resulted in is it resulted in my client not being able to see his child for about 2 years while it went through the appellate process. Now, at the end of the day, after those 2 years, my client wound up with full custody of that child. But for those 2 years, the visitation was few and far between at best. So that's what happens when you don't follow the law. Things like that.
Questions from anybody else? Anything that you would not like us to forget as you leave here? Hey, guys, this one's important, don't lose this.
Well, just, I'm used to dealing with a lot of work, I'm used to dealing with a lot of cases. I've never been bashful to ask for help if I need it. There's still a lot that I don't know, and I've been lucky enough to have people that I work with that have always been receptive to me asking questions. And that's a two-way street. There's no such thing as a stupid question if somebody needs my assistance with something. So I'll be diligent, and I will not bring shame to the court, whether that be public life or personal life. I think that would be my biggest contribution.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank